Welcome to Planet Subaru, one of the largest Subaru showrooms in the world and the first powered entirely by the sun. Today we're comparing Subaru's largest flagship vehicle, the Ascent, with the second largest vehicle, the Outback. They're both considered sport utility vehicles, but obviously you can tell there's quite a bit difference in size. The Ascent is 7 inches longer, which is significant. It's 6 inches taller almost, and the wheelbase, which is the distance between the axles, is 5 inches longer in the Ascent. So you get more of that limousine-like effect, and as good as the ride is in the Outback, it's even better in the Ascent. Ground clearance is the same at a pretty impressive 8.7 inches. The Ascent was introduced for the 2019 model year. Subaru generally does 5-year product cycles on its volume products, so we would expect substantially the same vehicle to be on sale through the 2023 model year. The Outback current generation began for 2020 model year, and 5 years would carry us through 2024, when we expect substantially the same car to be on sale through that time. Comparably equipped, there's about a $6,000 difference in price, and there are many factors that contribute to it. Perhaps the most conspicuous is the third row of seating available only in the Ascent. The Ascent comes in 7-passenger or 8-passenger configurations. This limited model I've wheeled down is the 8-passenger model. It has 3 seats across. In the 7-passenger model, you'd see 2 captain's chairs there. All that extra room in the Ascent shows up in various ways, and one of them is this really big access for the rear door. It opens 75 degrees, which is very wide for a rear door to open, and there's plenty of room to get someone in the back there. Comparing the width of the rear door will give you some insight into how much more room there is in the Ascent. Another place you experience the extra room in the Ascent is in the passenger compartment up front. I have a 275-pound in-law that fits pretty well in the Ascent. It's very comfortable for him. He can fit in the Outback, but it's tight and probably wouldn't enjoy taking a long trip in it. Looking now at the Outback, you'll see it's plenty big for almost all body types. Visibility is a little better in the Outback. Bigger rear glass that's lower to the pavement, so you don't have as much obscured down low when you're looking back out that window. The rear backup camera is standard on both vehicles, so as long as you use that, you're fine backing up the Ascent. This is the Outback Infotainment System. At almost 12 inches diagonal, it's the biggest system that Subaru's ever offered in any car. You'll see it's really nice when you're using applications like the navigation screen. You can put a lot of information on it. Also has a nifty function, and this is available in both cars on an optional basis, is a front view camera. It's going to be pushing that button there, and then there's a camera in the grille, so you're catching the front of the Ascent there. It's good if you're pulling out of your garage. If you've backed in, you can see items that might have been left in front of the car by your kids or whatever. Looking now at the Ascent infotainment system, the screen's plenty big, but you can't fit quite as many tiles on it as you can in the Outback. So if you like a big screen, you may prefer the Outback. The only engine available in the Ascent is a 2.4-liter, 4-cylinder, turbocharged boxer engine. It generates a prodigious 260 horsepower, and it gets 20 miles per gallon around town and 30 on the highway. It's not a big engine, and in fact it looks a little small in this big engine bay, but I've leased this car for a little over a year, and it's very rare that I need to floor it for fear of running into traffic in front of me. It really pulls. And this engine in this chassis is what gives you a 5,000-pound towing capacity. Moving now to the Outback, you might recognize this engine. It's the same 2.4-liter engine, produces the same 260 horsepower. This is the optional engine in the XT model, and that's what we're looking at here. This is an XT Touring. And and it shaves about a second off the 0 to 60 sprint because the Outback weighs roughly 1,000 pounds less than the Ascent. So this car drives a little like a big WRX. If you opt for the XT model, which is how you get the turbocharged engine in the Outback, you'll get 23 around town for fuel economy and 30 on the highway. You'll also be able to tow 3,500 pounds. The base engine, which is available much more commonly on the rest of the models, that's a 2.5 liter boxer engine, but it doesn't have the turbocharger. It generates 182 horsepower, gives you 26 around town and 33 on the highway, which is really impressive given the utility available in this crossover sport utility. It can tow 2,700 pounds with the base engine. This is what the Ascent looks like with the third row up. There's not a ton of storage here if you've got a car full of people. But once you put that third row down, it's going to be quite a bit bigger than in the Outback. I'll show you that next. So now when you compare in a 5-seater configuration, which is the more appropriate comparison with the Outback because it only has 5 seats, you see there's a lot more room back here for storage. And I haven't even put the second row down, which I'm going to do next. That's a ton of space. I mean, it's like a pickup truck bed, really. First introduced on the 2020 Outback, Subaru offers this hands-free tailgate opening system. All you have to do is put your hand near that rear emblem and it opens up the tailgate as long as you have the key fob in your pocket. Of course, you can also use the button on the key fob if you're approaching the car, but that hands-free system is nice. If you're loaded both hands, you can stick your elbow near it or your hand or whatever it is. I guess you could even stick your face and that would open it up so that you didn't have to put everything you had in your arms down. So this is the Outback rear cargo area, and you can see it's really nice. I mean, look at it, it's very flat, but it's not going to be quite as wide as the Ascent. I used to ride a 29-inch mountain bike, and it fit no problem in here. And I had to push it just a little bit, but I didn't have to take the wheels off, and it laid flat, so I could put another one right on top of it. It's much easier to do that in the Ascent just because it's bigger in every dimension. It'll do the same thing though. Ascent comes with 20-inch wheels and tires on the fancy versions. The Outback, the largest you can get on the upper level trims, is an 18-inch wheel tire combination. They both look at home on their respective cars because they're proportional to the size. In terms of ride, I prefer the Outback. It's 1,000 pounds lighter, it's shorter in terms of overall length, it's shorter in terms of height, and it's a narrower car. It behaves a little bit more like a sports car. I don't want to exaggerate and say it's gonna handle like a Corvette or anything, but compared to the Ascent, which has got quite a bit more mass, when you go through the corners, you're gonna feel that extra weight. The Ascent, I think, compares very favorably to other vehicles in its class, such as the Pilot and the Highlander. The Ascent rides like a Subaru, and that's a pretty high compliment to pay. But it's bigger than the Outback, and you know it when you drive it. My current lease is an Ascent, and I've enjoyed it, but I've used that third row so few times that I'm embarrassed that I'm paying so much more on a monthly basis for the Ascent than the Outback. And I prefer the ride in the Outback because I like a nimble, sporty car just the way I drive. So the simplest way to decide between these two cars, in our opinion, is do you need that third row? If you don't need the third row, you don't need the extra size, you can save money, you'll get better fuel economy, and you'll probably prefer the ride of the Outback. We welcome you to Planet Subaru on Route 53 in Hanover, Massachusetts to test drive both, and we'll help you decide which one's best for you. If you're too far away and you can't visit us in person, then we welcome you to planetsubaru.com, where we have lots of comparisons with these vehicles to other Subarus, and we also compare these vehicles to the competition. Thanks for watching.